Your eyes do not deceive you, it is sunny at Spa. Welcome to this majestic circuit in the Ardennes Forest for round 6 of the 2013 GP3 series. Afternoon everybody, Will Buxton with you as always, and alongside me, delighted to welcome back Alex Brundle. And Alex, it's been a very interesting weekend so far, a thrilling qualifying session this morning in tricky conditions for everybody, but the man who did the job, the man who got it all done, is one of the highest scorers of the last few weekends, and that man is Carlos Sainz.
Yep, hi Will, hi everybody. Yep, Carlos Sainz putting in a fantastic performance this morning, and the Ardennes car really working very well indeed around this Spa-Francorchamps circuit, with Danny Kvyat picking up second place behind Carlos Sainz Jr., leading to an all-Ardennes front row for this, the first race of GP3 here in Belgium.
It is indeed an all-Ardennes front row, and on the second row it's all ART with Jack Harvey and Connor Daly. Tio Ellenas, championship leader by one single solitary point, is fifth from Yeloli in sixth. Then it's Corlius and Regalia who's second in the championship. Fuminelli and Venturini lock out the top 10. Alexander Sims returns this weekend with Carlin. He's 11th, ahead of Vishoyu in 12th. Melville McKee lines up in 13th, ahead of his countryman Zamparelli. Then it's Niederhauser and Vainio, Fong and Kuyala, Williamson on a penalty, and Gomez, Webster and Ericsson. Then Silva and Zonzini pulling down to 24th place. Behind them on the grid in the final spots is Carmen Yorda, Ryan Cullen and Alex Fontana. Now, you called him Kvyat.
I did.
Danny Kvyat. I've been calling him Kvyat all season. Kvyat, Kavat, Kravat, it's all wrong, apparently. I was speaking to my good friend Oleg today, Russian journalist.
He sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
He does know what he's talking about. You have to almost, apparently, I've been told, you have to almost swallow the K. So it comes out as Kvyat, Kvyat, like that. So that's what we've got to try and say. Like, swallow the K, like that, and Kvyat, Kvyat.
Well, anyone who knows me knows I'll pretty much eat whatever's in front of me so I can swallow a cane, no problem.
There you go. Okay, so that's what we've got to say today, apparently. Our apologies if it doesn't come out quite right. It's only taken me 3/4 of a season to get it absolutely nailed on, and apparently, according to my good friend Oleg, that's about as close as I'm going to get.
Superb.
There we go. So that's how we pronounce it. Now that that's done, this race today could be thrilling, could be awful. We're really not sure what's going to happen with the tyres, but we hope that the deg on the tyres will be sufficient around this 7-kilometre track, that we will see some really good racing.
Yep, and another man with an interesting name is Kevin Corges, who looked very strong in qualifying, was about to set what I thought could be a lap to challenge Carlos Sainz Jr. at the front of the field, but then balked by his teammate Vainio, and no doubt they've had some reasonably strong words about that, because it was reasonably plumb, I would say, and so look for him coming through the field towards the front from his 7th place grid box today.
The other man to watch out for, of course, Alexander Sims. We saw that he was able to overtake when last he raced in GP3, and that was at the Nürburgring, and did a splendid job of it as well. So watch out for those guys. Watch out also, of course, for Tio Ellenas trying to increase his championship lead here today, but it won't be easy. Oh, hammocks up in the trees. That's a nice way to be, isn't it?
Yeah, almost as chilled out as Tio Ellenas tends to be, and just in front of him in 4th place, Connor Daly. There's not going to be too much frantic stuff going on around those two, is there? Two very chilled out characters following on behind the top 3.
But two proper racers as well, Daly and Ellenas, and I'm sure once it all gets going, they will not hold back. Get well soon, Ron, says Carlos Sainz. And tell me, you've raced here in GP3. You've been running all weekend in these cars around this wonderful circuit. You've been taking Eau Rouge. Now you've got to get ready for the start of a race. No longer by yourself. You are on one of the biggest grids that you're ever going to face in terms of the sheer number of cars on that grid. Huge level of competition in terms of your rivals, your teammates, your competitors out there on track. What's the more daunting prospect? Is it turn 1 at La Source, or or is it that first time you run wheel to wheel with your competitors through Eau Rouge?
No, your head is well. I think first things first. You want to try and get round to Eau Rouge. So making it through the source would be ideal. But it's guesswork, and actually, once you've been racing a little while, your head moves away from the thoughts, the anxiety about the start, and you're trying to guess. I wonder if I can make it through Eau Rouge flat out on the first lap on cold tyres when my car is full of fuel, because funnily enough, in practice I ran with qualifying fuel in, and in qualifying I ran with not much fuel in either, because I was trying to set the fastest lap possible. So my car has not actually been through Eau Rouge flat out on full tanks yet. I know it should do, but will I be able to do it on the first lap? And if I don't, and those around me do, then I will be losing places. If I go wide, trying to, and those around me don't, then they will be driving past me up to Les Combes as well. So there's a decision to be made for these guys in that historic corner.
We will hopefully see a lot of this view today. Kvyat, this wonderful onboard camera, which is in the air vent right on top of his helmet. Obviously the quality of this, not quite what we see on the usual onboard pictures, and that's because they haven't yet, as we understand it, developed a camera that small that can broadcast live in high definition, and that's the only reason. So it's still standard definition for a camera that small, unless it's sort of recording onto a hard drive, and then you can get it that small in HD. But for live pictures, that's as good as it gets at the moment, and it is a wonderful view. How close to realistic is that?
I was just about to say, a fantastic perspective there, just a wee bit higher, so you don't get a lot of the visibility for these guys is taken away.
The Justin Wilson view.
Yes, is taken away by the headrest and the head restraint. The camera we see here on the top of McKee's car is way higher, of course, than the visible angle for the driver. But yeah, a good feel for the vibration as well, felt by these guys as they go round.
So McKee coming down through Fagnes, or Pif Paf as it's known in Belgium, and apparently Alex and I sound a little bit too alike, some of you were saying on Twitter during GP2. I was going to do this race in a Belgian accent, but I have decided against that.
I told you your Belgian accent wasn't anywhere near good enough.
Well, apparently when I speak French I sound Belgian, so that's what the French tell me, which apparently is an insult. I have a very paysan accent. I'm quite sort of country bumpkin-esque apparently when I talk French.
We'll have to find a way to discern each other from each other. It's not the first time I've been told I sound like someone else, that's for sure.
Whoever could that be that you're told you sound like?
No one in particular.
No, exactly. So the guys bring the cars round to the end of the formation lap. Carlos Sainz, who has been really a man on a mission over the last few rounds, has scored in all of the last 4 races, finishing off with a podium in P2 in Hungary in the reverse grid race. Took his first pole position of his GP3 series career yesterday, and now pulls the field onto the start-finish stretch, luridly swiping around to put some final heat into those tyres. So too does Kvyat, as Harvey and Daly line up as well. The top 10 then will be: in 10th place Giovanni Venturini, in 9th place David Fuminelli, 8th, second place man in the championship, this man, we're right on board with him now, Facu Regalia. Ahead of him Kevin Koyas in 7th, in 6th it's Nicky Aloli, 5th championship leader Tio Elinas, in 4th it's Connor Daly, 3rd is Jack Harvey, and on the front row of the grid on the right hand side Daniel Kvyat, and in pole position it is Carlos Sainz Jr. Charlie Whiting waits for every driver to be in position and will wait for that green flag to fly at the back, which it does now. The lights then will turn on above the track. And once they're out in Spa, it's time to go racing. And a great start from Harvey, who then bogs down. Awful start from Elinas, who stalled. Championship leader stalls on the grid. Everybody makes it seemingly around him, lights the tyres up and finally gets going once again. And Daly, with a brilliant start, is already fighting for the lead. up into second place and trying to push Sainz Jr. because Kvyat has got into the lead. It's Kvyat who leads from Daly coming down into Eau Rouge, and Daly thinking better of taking a run on him side by side into Eau Rouge, but it's Kvyat in the lead, and it's Conor Daly then in P2 with Sainz down to third, Jack Harvey into fourth. And what a start then from the man in second on the grid, who's having to defend early doors from Conor Daly on the run down the Kemmel Straight. Jack Harvey looking at Carlos Sainz as well. Regalia with a great start as well, taking Nick Yelloly as Harvey trying to get around the outside of Sainz and can't quite do it, and Regalia does make that other position up. And is that Sims?
Yeah.
Has Sims jumped up?
A phenomenal start from Sims. Fantastic start from Sims to get himself up into the top 10. And yeah, Sainz really not getting off the line well there. That pole position grid slot is right offline for these guys. Oh, and we've got a tangle in turn one.
And it's one of the Tridents and one of the status cars. Is that Webster? I think it might be. It is Josh Webster in car number 19. Couldn't see who the other Trident car was, but we've got contact down there already.
And safety car is out.
Safety car is out. So the drivers will now have to get line astern and form up. But a bad start for Sainz. A shocker. An absolute shocker for championship leader Tio Ellenas, and we've been talking about consistency all year for Tio Ellenas. He had a run of constant point scoring up to Germany. In Hungary, failed to score in either race, and here today, stalls on the grid, but with these cars, they do have the starter buttons. You can get them pushed back on again, and that's Zonzini in the other Trident. And he managed to get it started, managed to light up those rears and get away, but has lost. Well, he's not even in the top 22, and our timing screen only goes down to 20 seconds. So, real shocker then.
And it is Gomez who has collected or collided with Webster in the first corner, because she has not. Oh, no, she has now come through.
Yeah, I think it was Zonzini.
So it's one, yeah. So yeah, Zonzini. You're right.
There is Tio Ellenas, and Ellenas currently finds himself behind. Is that Lewis Williamson? Ooh, rear wing flying off Webster.
It's landed off track to the left.
Yeah, that's good news. That's good news. So Webster hopefully will be able to make it back to the pits. But safety car is out. The field has been neutralised. But what a start from Kvyat. And you know what? I can't wait to see that on an onboard replay from his helmet cam.
There we go. Slightly delayed reaction as well from Sainz. From P1, and Kvyat just launches off the line, as does Daly, challenging around the outside. And I thought for a moment Daly was going to hole shot all the way into P1. Had to bother with Sainz just a little bit down to Eau Rouge. Kvyat runs him a little bit out of road, and there is the accident we see at the back of the field.
And what's really interesting there is it looked like Webster and Sainz, I mean, they both bogged down, almost as though they believed they preempted the lights. And then running down here, let's see Webster, and there's Zonzini going up the inside and just pushes Webster out of the way. And then, yeah, silly mistake from Zonzini.
Over the back, yeah. Tiny little bit optimistic, but here we go.
And you see him, his head being thrust back in the car as he gets that brilliant launch. And now let's have a little, he's looking in his mirrors. We have a look down here into La Source. Now watch for him looking out for Daly. No doubt our camera will switch left, yeah, as we have a little look in our mirror, and we just edge Daly off towards the side there, and Daly gets back on with him. Now on board with McKee.
So two stallers along the right-hand side of the grid. And McKee's up the inside. Now here, he's watching the outside car and thinking, don't turn into me. He hasn't, he's given us space, that's good. Leave him out on the grasscrete if we possibly can. We should have the speed on him up to Eau Rouge. He's looking across, he's seeing who has the high ground. And he's decided to back out of that. Smart move, because now he's going to take the speed all the way up the Kemmel Straight, so he should be able to come and have a run at that guy in front.
Wonderful stuff from Melville McKee. The safety car then still out. It is Kvyat from Daly. Carlos Sainz sits in third. Then it is the other two ARTs of Jack Harvey and Facu Regalia. Regalia will be only too happy to have seen his championship rival Tio Ellenas stall on the grid. Yellow Lee is 6th, Sims up to 7th already, Koyas is 8th, then it's Vishoyu and McKee with that great start up to 10th.
And we saw Kvyat, I'll get the pronunciation right one day.
It's all right.
Head round the outside of T1 there, and when you go round the outside of someone, it was Sainz who went round the outside of, so a teammate maybe. When you head round the outside of someone in turn 1, your whole body flinches as if to say, because there's such an opportunity for the guy on the inside of you to run into you, and it looks like we're back up to racing speed.
Indeed we are, and Kvyat got the jump on Connor Daly, and wonderfully so. A brilliant restart from Kvyat over the line. The